theoretical aspect or with respect to that of the algorithm. Those are to be defined in well-established model itself. Why which is required in order to obtain the proper solution, what which is defined in the model itself. And once you are getting what we are expecting a solution, that should be get tested in a system itself, so that the proper testing of model will also be plays an important role in the aspect of getting a better solution. If I don't have any better solution, means how come it will become into a best, which is not at all be possible. So that whatever problem you are going to define, that problem should resolve in a systematic manner. That should be get followed in a systematic way. Because of that reason, these attributes will play a very important role, which are to be defined in the fashion of scientific approach. Then later we can proceed for the implementation of the solution. Because I know the thing, what problem is there. For that, how can I do best by the use of interdisciplinary approach, by the use of integrated approach to get better solution. So that these attributes we need to consider to define into a operational research model. Once you are doing this model, obviously which will help a lot towards the implementation. Otherwise, which will feel difficult with respect to that of achieving what which is required for the subject point of view, as well as the whatever the problem is to be defined. Okay, this is with respect to that of model what is to be used in the system in order to resolve that is the use of attributes itself. Okay, then there'll be many stages are there to follow with respect to that of defining operational research. First stage of that. Okay, the first stage of operational research, identification of the problem in order to do proper formulation. What I need to do this in this step? Okay, we need to start with a proper, with having the proper job which to be required, what I need to do. Because I don't know what to do means, how can I know about the problem to define, how I need to find the problem solution, which is not at all possible. If you start with a good aspect, half of the job has to be completed. If you don't have proper starting, then there is no use at all. Then right solution cannot be obtained from wrongly understanding the problem. Okay, it doesn't mean that we need to understand all the problems in a wrong way. Okay, we are assuming this might be a problem. This problem, if I solve, which might we get a better output. Okay, but if we not achieved that outcome or the output, obviously I can get another method to resolve that problem, which is obviously possible. Because of that reason, the right solution cannot be obtained from the wrongly understood problems. Then first and foremost thing is that in this stage, work is to be defined in a proper, well-defined problem. If not, obviously I'm not going to define that system to be operated in a well-defined way. Okay, then which will also be helps hand-on quantitatively, because the number of work what is to be required to complete, which will play a very important role. Okay, in this stage, we are going to define what is the goal which to be required. Then also we are going to make the determination of the system, which will have impact of the problem. Obviously, what's the impact on problem if you are defined, then obviously it will have a proper solution. If not, which is not at all possible, we need to identify it. Then determination of constraints, which will have an effect on solution of the problem. Obviously, if any problem is there, for that problem, many constraints are there to be considered, because which may affect the solution of that problem itself. Then determination of assumptions, because the sum of the problems are cannot be solved without making any assumption. This meant some assumptions are to be get considered in order to define the problems itself. So that proper determination of assumptions is also be very important role. Then whatever you are defining that problem, that should have the proper determination of appropriate measurement of effectiveness. Whatever problem you are going to define, that should be effective one. If not, kindly you want to simulate, check it out, then you are going to define. Means the proper organizing, then maintaining the same system in order to have proper solution itself. That is also be most important. Okay, this is the first step. Then second stage, establishment of model. Okay, we can learn this different types of models later. Okay, many models are there. Among that, in this establishment of model, we are going to consider iconic or the imitation model. It means what we are going to define, that only we are assuming, we are defining that into a working system. Okay, that itself is called as iconic model. Then another one is analog and linear model. The variation of many attributes which will have cause on its productivity. During the moment, those are to be considered as a linear problems. For that reason, what I need to define? I need to define that problem into a model to make solving by the defining of linear solution itself. That itself is called as a analog model. Then third one is mathematical or the symbolic model. Obviously, whatever problem we are going to define, that will be relevant to that of what? Mathematical aspect. Obviously, the proper technique or the technology or with respect to the algorithm we have to use to resolve the problem which to be defined in the system itself. That is most important. These things are to be defined in case of second stage. Okay, in case of third stage, obtaining model solution. Because once I know the what model I have used, okay, for that model, we are going to define a proper algorithm to get suitable solution for the given problem itself. Okay, obviously that will be belongs to that of the third stage. That itself is called as obtaining model solution itself. Okay, these things will play a very important role in the aspect of defining all the components which are to be required to do the proper operational research itself. Okay, next with respect to that, stage 4. Okay, you model, you define problem, you model, then you got solution what is to be required by defining the algorithm. What I need to do? I need to test it. That itself is called as testing the model solution. Okay, in this testing of model solution, before I should know application what I am going to use for the model solution. Then only I can know about what solution I can do best. If not, which is quite difficult, then obviously which will validate a proper model and the reliability of the solution should be tested. Okay, if there is no proper reliability of the solution which is to be tested on based on the requirement, which leads to what? Improper defining of problem solution. Because of that reason, the proper testing model to be used. Then validity of model can be decided by comparing with its output and the result. Because if I know the output, if I know the result of previous, then I can validate it. If I don't have previous data, which is quite difficult in order to define the operation was to be required by the system itself. Because of that reason, the previous data will play a very important role in the aspect of defining operational research method. Next, past behavior is repeated when provided the similar inputs, then the model will be valid. Okay, means repeatedly you did work on it for testing. I can get the better solution. Okay, if not, which is to be treated as the failure with respect to that of the operation model is to be defined. Because of that reason, which will play a very important role in the aspect of research. So that the proper defining of testing model is also be a one of the step in case of OR. Then step 5 is that I tested, I did all these things to get a better solution. Obviously, I need to implement that solution. Okay, the implementation of solution is what? I need to validate the model in a reliable solution to real life problems. Because in the real application, we are going to use it. For that reason, only we are designing a model. Obviously, if it is tested properly, I can implement that for the better solution. Then implementation of the solution is the what? Duty of operation research team. Okay, that is the major attribute which is to be required for the operational point of view. then I can get the better implementation for the problem what which will be defined by the system itself. Kindly go through all these things, then you can understand properly. Okay, so that don't write only the sentence. You have to make the explanation those steps by considering those points. Keep that is in mind. Okay, these are very important steps which are to be used in case of modeling of the operational research system. Okay, these are the 5 steps. First is identification of the problem. Second is establishment, then obtaining model solution, then testing of the model, then implementation. Okay,